Welcome to The Explainer. We all know that feeling, right? That powerful pull of desire, a craving we just can't seem to shake. Now, most of us think there are only two options. You either fight it with all your willpower, or you just give in. But what if both of those are dead ends? Today, we're exploring a third path to mastering desire, and it's one that comes from some pretty ancient wisdom that really challenges everything we think we know about our own minds.
So we're usually caught between these two extremes. First up, there's suppression. This is when we try to just bottle that feeling up, telling ourselves, no, don't think about it. But all that does is build up this intense pressure inside until, well, inevitably, we just explode. On the other hand, you've got indulgence. We give in, maybe telling ourselves it's a healthy release. But that's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It just makes the craving roar back even stronger the next time around. And this leaves us with a really critical question. I mean, if fighting our desires doesn't work and feeding them doesn't work, what's left? Is there actually another way out of this trap?
To find that third way, we first have to really, truly understand our opponent. And according to our source material, we're not talking about some fleeting whim here. This is one of the most fundamental, most powerful forces in the human mind. This force has a name, Kama Trishna, or sensual craving. And look, this isn't just about wanting a cookie. It's that deep, primal, powerful drive for pleasant sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and feelings. It's wired into us from the moment we're born and then reinforced by literally a lifetime of experiences. It's a seriously formidable force. So let's take a closer look at exactly why these two common strategies, suppression and indulgence, are basically doomed from the start. First, let's talk about suppression. The source uses this classic example of, say, a holy man who represses all his desires for years and years, building up this immense inner tension. Then, at the first sight of something beautiful, all that repressed energy just erupts and he's totally flooded with shame and self-loathing. See, the desire was never actually gone. It was just pushed underground, waiting to explode. And then you've got the other extreme, indulgence. Some modern psychology has even floated the idea that just giving in to our impulses is the healthy way to live. But the source material here argues this is a profound mistake. It's like trying to cure an illness by giving it the very thing it thrives on. Indulgence doesn't get rid of the craving, it strengthens it, locking you into an even more powerful cycle. And this brings us to the real breakthrough insight. The solution isn't to fight the desire, and it isn't to feed it. The real solution, this third way, is a middle path. It's a path of radical self-awareness. This path is called vipassana. Now, this isn't some belief system or philosophy you have to buy into. Instead, think of it as a practical technique, a method for observing your own mind and body to see how they actually work, moment by moment. Simply seeing things exactly as they are. Okay, to see how this works in practice, we need to slow things way down. We need to actually dissect the life cycle of a single craving, a chain reaction that usually happens in a fraction of a second, completely on autopilot. It all kicks off with simple contact. Say your eyes see a cake. Instantly, this triggers a physical sensation in your body, the subtle little vibration called vedana. Before you're even really aware of it, your mind, that's the sanya part, evaluates the sensation and slaps a label on it. Pleasant! And right there, from that one little label, craving, or tanha, is born. That intense desire to have more of that pleasant feeling. And this leads us to the core principle, the absolute key to everything. Vedana pachya tanha. From sensation, craving is born. Think about that. The craving doesn't come from the cake itself. It arises from the sensation that the cake creates inside your body. Now, this insight is incredibly empowering because it shows us exactly where we can step in. If craving is born from sensation, then we can break that chain right at that critical link. And vipassana is the tool that lets us do it. The magic, the real moment of liberation, happens in that tiny, almost imperceptible gap between the raw physical feeling, the vedana, and the mind's habitual reaction of wanting more, the tanha. So, how do we actually get into that gap? We use two mental tools that work together.
First is sati, which is just bare awareness. You simply notice, ah, the sensation is there. The second is sampajanya, which is the wisdom or the understanding that this feeling, like everything else, is temporary. It will arise and it will pass away. Together, they let you observe that physical sensation with a totally calm, balanced mind.
So, by observing the sensation objectively, you do something radical. You don't give the craving any fuel. You're not screaming, I want more, which is indulgence, and you're not screaming, go away, which is suppression. You're simply watching it, calmly, without any judgment. And because that craving isn't being fed by a reaction, what happens? It naturally weakens. It dissolves. It just starves. This isn't about violently repressing it. It's about letting it die a completely natural death. This is about extinguishing the problem at its absolute root. But this isn't just about conquering a single craving for, say, a piece of chocolate cake. This is a practice that, over time, fundamentally retrains the deepest habit patterns of your mind. The source describes this as a gradual journey of liberation. As you keep practicing, you start moving beyond just the surface-level stuff. You begin to gently uproot a lifetime of unconscious, stored-up reactions, what the text calls anusaya. And layer by layer, as these old habits are brought to the surface and just observed without reacting, they lose their power. And this leads to a state of natural calm and freedom. And the source is really emphatic about this. This path is for everyone. It's a universal, scientific process of self-observation. It doesn't ask you to believe in any dogma or convert to any religion. All it asks is that you do the work, that you look within and experience the reality of your own mind and body for yourself. So, this explainer leaves us with a final, really powerful question to think about. We spend so much energy trying to control our minds, don't we? Trying to force them into submission or just letting them run wild. But what might happen if we tried a completely different approach? What could you learn and what kind of freedom could you find, not by fighting your mind, not by feeding it, but just by patiently and compassionately observing it?